You just ate a peach. Juice running down your wrist, pit sitting there on the plate, and your hand is already moving toward the trash can. Stop! That thing you're about to throw away, that wrinkled, hard little seed, is a fully formed fruit tree waiting for permission. Here's what nobody tells you. That single pit, the one you've tossed thousands of times over your life, can become a 15-foot tree producing 100 to 150 pounds of fruit a year for the next 25 to 30 years. Peach, plum, cherry, apricot, almond, they all work off the same core principle, and it costs you exactly $0. You already paid for the fruit. The tree was free the whole time. If you've been buying $40 nursery saplings every spring, or worse, just eating the fruit and pitching the pit like it's garbage, this video changes that today. 3 steps, that's it. No greenhouse, no grow lights, no special soil you have to order online. Before we get into it, if you want more of this kind of grow-it-yourself, actually tested in my own backyard content, hit subscribe now, because I post a new orchard project every single week, and none of it is theory. All of it is dirt under my nails tested. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to take any stone fruit or nut pit sitting on your counter right now and turn it into a viable, fruit-bearing tree using the same 3-step process, whether it's a peach, a plum, a cherry, an apricot, or an almond. Here's the reality most people never discover. They plant the pit straight into a pot on the windowsill, wait, get nothing, and decide growing fruit trees from seed doesn't work. It's not that it doesn't work, it's that they skipped the one step that makes the whole thing possible in the first place. That single root cause reason almost everyone fails, they never trick the seed into thinking it survived winter. Stone fruit pits, peach, plum, cherry, apricot, almond, all of them are hardwired with something called dormancy. Inside that shell is an embryo that's biologically locked, refusing to sprout until it experiences a sustained period of cold. In the wild, that pit falls to the ground in autumn, sits through 60 to 90 days of near-freezing temperatures, and only then does the seed coat soften enough and the internal hormones shift enough to say, winter happened, it's safe to grow now. Skip that cold period, and you can plant 100 pits in perfect soil and get 0 trees. That's the whole secret. It's not soil, it's not sunlight, it's temperature and time. This process is called cold stratification, and once you understand it, everything else about growing these trees from seed becomes almost mechanical. I've run this exact method on over 60 pits across 4 seasons, and I get germination in roughly 70 to 80% of peach and apricot pits, and 50 to 60% on cherry and almond, which are naturally a bit more stubborn. Compare that to the less than 5% success rate most people get tossing a pit straight into a pot. But there's a second obstacle waiting even after germination succeeds. Not every seedling that sprouts is going to grow true to the parent fruit, and not every seedling survives the shock of being moved outdoors. That's where the next part of this method matters just as much as the stratification step: how you crack the dormancy, when you transplant, and how you harden the seedling off before it ever sees full sun. Get those 3 steps right, in order, and you go from interesting kitchen experiment to tree that's still feeding your family 2 decades from now. Step 1 is extraction and cleaning. Once you've eaten the fruit, don't just rinse the pit and toss it in a drawer. Any leftover fruit flesh clinging to the pit will mold during stratification and kill the seed inside. Scrub it under running water with an old toothbrush until it's completely clean, then let it air dry on a paper towel for 24 to 48 hours. For peach and apricot, you're working with 1 large, hard pit per fruit. For plum, the pit is smaller and thinner shelled, so handle it gently. It cracks easier than you'd think. Cherry pits are tiny, almost like a piece of gravel, so save several because your germination rate per pit is lower and you want to hedge your bets. Almond is technically the same family as peach, and the pit you're working with is the shell you'd normally crack open to get the almond itself. So if you bought raw, unroasted almonds in the shell, that's your seed source. Step 2 is cold stratification, the step that actually makes germination possible. Take a sandwich bag, add a handful of slightly damp peat moss or vermiculite, damp like a wrung-out sponge, not wet, and bury your cleaned pits inside. Seal the bag, label it with the date and fruit type, and put it in your refrigerator, not the freezer, at 34 to 41 degrees Fahrenheit. Peach and apricot need 60 to 70 days at this temperature. Plum needs closer to 90 days. Cherry needs 90 to 120 days. It's the slowest of the group. Almond falls in the 60 to 90-day range. Check the bag every 2 weeks for mold. If you see any, wipe the pit clean and switch out the peat moss immediately. Step 3 is planting and transplanting timing. Once your stratification window closes, plant each pit 1.5 inches deep in a 4-inch pot with well-draining potting soil and keep the soil at 65 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Peach and apricot typically sprout within 2 to 4 weeks of planting. Cherry and almond can take 4 to 6 weeks, so don't panic if you don't see growth right away. Once your seedling has 3 to 4 true leaves, not the initial rounded seed leaves that come after, it's ready to move to a larger pot or, if it's warm enough outside, direct into the ground. Drop a comment right now telling me which one you're starting first: peach, plum, cherry, apricot, or almond. I want to see what everyone's working with this season. Here's the golden tip almost nobody shares. Harden your seedling off before it ever meets full outdoor sun. Move the pot outside into full shade for 3 days, then partial sun for the next 4 days, then full sun only after that first week. Skip this and you'll scorch a perfectly healthy seedling in a single afternoon, undoing 90 days of stratification and weeks of growth in a matter of hours. Mistake number 1 is skipping stratification entirely. If you plant a fresh pit straight into soil without that cold period, you're not looking at slow growth, you're looking at zero growth, full stop. The seed simply won't break dormancy, no matter how much water or sun you give it. Mistake number 2 is stratifying at the wrong temperature. Anything below 32 degrees Fahrenheit risks freezing and killing the embryo outright, and anything above 45 won't trigger the dormancy break at all. You end up with a pit that sat in your fridge for 3 months and did absolutely nothing. Mistake number 3 is letting the peat moss dry out during stratification. A bone-dry bag halts the biological process cold, and you'll pull out pits in month 3 that are exactly as dormant as the day you put them in. Mistake number 4 is transplanting too early, before those true leaves show up. Move a seedling with just its seed leaves into a bigger pot or outdoors, and the root shock alone can kill it within days. Mistake number 5 is assuming every seedling will produce fruit identical to what you ate. Stone fruit doesn't grow true from seed the way you'd expect, so your peach tree might give you fruit that's smaller, sweeter, or slightly different from the one you started with. And that's not a failure, that's just genetics doing its thing. Think back to that peach pit sitting on your plate, juice on your wrist, hand halfway to the trash can. That's not garbage anymore. That's a tree that outlives most relationships you'll ever have, still producing fruit for your kids, maybe your grandkids, 30 years from now. It costs nothing but a sandwich bag, a spot in your fridge, and a little patience. The barrier to entry is a scrap you were about to throw away anyway. The payoff is a small orchard you grew with your own hands. If you want more projects like this one, hit subscribe because I'm putting out a new field-tested grow-it-yourself video every single week. No theory, just what actually works in my own backyard. Next time, we're taking these exact seedlings and walking through the first full year of care, spacing, and pruning. So if you're starting your pit collection this week, you'll know exactly what to do once they're ready to go in the ground for good.